get started. I'm paying attention to the tech and the sound. I'm doing multiple things here. This is so fun. All right.
I'm gonna stay on here as long as I can, but I do have an appointment at 6.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. That's the end of that song. Mike.
Hello.
Hey, Mike.
Howdy.
Hi, Mike. That's what everybody says. So I gotta follow suit now.
Hey, Mike, Alderman Cruz. Hey,
Yes.
did you get a chance to look into that, what I asked you about?
I did. I'm checking with, I didn't have any record of it, but I am checking with Mary Lou, who would have those records, and I've not heard back from her yet. So we're looking into it, but I've not found any specific record yet.
So far, there's no record of any contract or nothing so far, right?
Not yet, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist yet. We're still checking, but I've not found one yet. Let's put it that way.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, well, it's 5:30, so I want to welcome you all to the First Ward Neighborhood Meeting, and I was hoping that a few more people would be on.
Hi, Cherry, Wanda, and Larry. Hi, Alderwoman.
Hi, Wanda. Hi, Larry.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Rachel.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Okay. So, just want to say that our next neighborhood meeting will be on April the 28th. That's Wednesday, the last Wednesday of the month at 5:30. We will still be going on Zoom for a little bit longer until we are actually certain that we don't have any concerns about meeting together. So we'll continue to do Zoom next month. I think everybody kind of knows everybody, but I still like, Joe, do you know Barbara? Do you know Barbie?
I do not know Barbie, but I have heard of her though.
Okay, well, she's a good person to know. She works really hard for us and for the city. And being that you're a business owner, she's somebody you'll be working with. Her and Mike and Brad and Rachel. They're all people that can help you coordinate any type of business things you want to take care of.
Okay.
So today we'll be doing the First Ward Needs Assessment. And so what we'll be discussing is things that we want to see happen in the First Ward. And so with no further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Barbie, and I will be muting my mic until you get done or you ask me a question.
Okay.
Thank you, Barbie.
Thank you, Alderwoman Malone Marshall. I appreciate that. Just a couple of things as we get started. Rachel is the community outreach coordinator for my department, which is called the Economic and Community Development Agency for the city of Kankakee. She will be taking notes, and she's also monitoring the live feed that is on YouTube and Facebook right now. So as questions come in that are relatable to the First Ward, she will let us know what those questions are so that maybe we can answer them or at least take a note of them and get an answer back to those people. So just wanted to make you aware of that. Before we jump into my questions for the needs assessment, I want to remind you that there is a set of surveys that are going around for another month. They are all available online on every social media platform, also the city website. And then if you sign up for the ECDA email newsletter, it also will be sent to you via email. But you can take each one of those surveys. There is a housing survey where you can share your opinion about housing quality for the city of Kankakee. There's a survey about homelessness. You can fill out your opinions on all of the levels of homelessness issues that the city is facing. There is surveys about community neighborhood revitalization, what you'd like to see, public spaces, infrastructure, things like that. And then the fourth survey is all related to business development. What resources are that you know about? What would you like to see resources? Workforce development, what are your barriers to hiring? All of that. So those 4 surveys are still active. They're still available for the next 4 weeks. So find them or give us a call and we will get those surveys to you. We also have paper copies in our office. We can get those surveys to you. But those surveys help us collect additional data outside of these kind of meetings so that we can report back how we are spending our dollars to improving the city of Kankakee. So I just wanted to put that out there and remind people that are watching tonight that that is also an additional option you have to voice your opinion. City of Kankakee is getting ready to look at a very detailed, comprehensive look into zoning. And so Mike Hoffman, who is the city planner, contracted with Tuska and Associates, he is here tonight to bring up some of the Ward 1 zoning issues that, and I say issues, but some of the Ward 1 zoning challenges that we have, and bring those to you tonight for some comments and feedback, and letting you know how we will be moving forward to fix these challenges that we are facing. So I'm going to turn it over to Mike and let him go through that. Once he's done, we'll get started on some of these questions. But I think since some of you have to get out of here a little bit sooner than others, I want to make sure that you see this zoning map and information for Ward 1. And I'm sure for our Alder people with us tonight, this is going to be probably your first in-depth look at this. So we welcome, of course, your comments and feedback as well. This is very important to how we're going to move forward in the next year. Mike, take it away. You want me to unmute you, Mike?
Yeah, there we go. All right. Sorry about that. So, yes, zoning. Zoning controls the use of land. I know the Alder people are very familiar with that. I think, Joe, you are familiar with it at this point, too. But if you're not familiar with your zoning of your property, you can go to this website, cityofkankakee-gas.com, and see what the current zoning is of the property. But essentially, zoning is a tool that we use to control the use of property in the community. And it's designed to kind of protect the health, safety, and welfare of the community, right? If you invest in the community and build and open a business or have a house or whatever, you want to make sure that something that's not going to impact you negatively is going to go next door, essentially, right? If you have a house, you don't want a manufacturing plant going up next to your house, at least not knowing about it, that kind of thing, right? And zoning is the way that we can kind of control those things to make sure that we understand what is allowed in different parts of the community, and we can make sure that we have got a good balance of uses in Kankakee. And so what the situation is in Kankakee, as we've learned over the last couple of years, is that there's a lot of situations in town where the existing zoning of the property, whether it be residential or commercial, doesn't match what the property is currently used for. So we've got situations where we've got commercial structure that are zoned for single family use. So we've got industrial property that has a single family house on it. We were able to kind of get away around that problem initially by identifying those properties as what we call legal non-conforming uses. It's kind of a zoning term, but essentially what it means is you can keep using that building as you've been using it. So if in the case of a property that's zoned industrial and has a single family house on it, you can keep using it as a house while you're still living there and while that property is currently occupied. But if that property sits vacant for more than a year, or it's destroyed by more than 60% of the value of that building, you lose that legal non-conforming use. So if you had a house in an area zoned for industrial and that house burns down, you can't rebuild it. Obviously, that's not a good thing for anybody, right? We want the zoning to match the use of the property. And so here's an example of that. This is a home in Ward 1 at 757 North Evergreen that is clearly a single-family house, yet that property and used as a single-family home. You can see the Weber grill out in front of it, right? So clearly is used as a single-family home. It's built as a single-family home, but it's zoned C1 neighborhood commercial. So if anything ever happened to that house, they couldn't rebuild the house per the zoning code. Doesn't make any sense, but that's the way it is right now. I don't quite understand why there's so many properties in Kankakee that seem to be miszoned. It looks like somebody went back at some point in time and did a major rezoning of what they dreamed the property might be or something. I don't know, but it doesn't match reality of what's out there, and it really does create a lot of problems for people. What we find happening here is that property can't be rebuilt if it's damaged, and the problems with that are that lenders are hesitant to loan a property or loan money on a property when they know it can't be reconstructed, and they're making sure, and they're doing a much better job these days of making sure that when they do issue loans, there is consistency with the existing zoning. So we've had several people contact our office and had major problems with that. Their deal won't go through. Their buyers can't get a loan on the property because it's miszoned. It's delayed or stopped many transactions of property in the community. And obviously it's not a good situation. It limits the investment somebody can make on a property. If your property is zoned industrial and you've got a house on it, we can't allow you to expand that house. So if you wanted to add a room, we can't allow it for the existing code. So it really is a significant problem, and one that the city is very aware of. And it really is true throughout the community, some more so than other areas of the community. Actually, Ward 1 has got quite a few properties that where the existing use of property doesn't match the zoning. What this map is kind of a blow up of just a portion of Ward 1 to show you some of those properties that are used one way but zoned another. So every red box that you see there, this is just kind of to the west of Hobby, south of the railroad tracks, generally along Willow. And just in this small little area, there are 59 properties where the zoning does not match the existing use of the property. So to drill down a little bit more, this is kind of mapping out the existing use of the property. So if you see a yellow box on that map, it's a residential home, typically a single-family home. If you see a brown box there, it is multifamily in some fashion, typically a small apartment building of some sort. If you see a purple box, it's a property that's zoned industrial. And each of those properties that are highlighted on the map there, the existing zoning is different than those uses that you see there, right? So in the case of the property up here, clearly it's zoned R1, but it's used for industrial. All of this in here is zoned C1 commercial, but it's almost all residential, or in one or two cases maybe a church or something, but it is not commercially used back in there. And so there's a conflict between the existing use and the existing zoning. So this map shows what zoning would be appropriate based upon what's actually out there. This property that's zoned or used industrial up here probably should be zoned industrial. This property here actually was zoned residential and was rezoned to C1 not long ago because there is a commercial building on the structure. Now there's some other issues with that particular property and property owner, but the appropriateness of the C1 zoning was legitimate and consistent, and that was rezoned in that particular case. But all these other properties in here really aren't consistent between the zoning and the land use. So how do you fix that? Well, there's two ways that it can be done. And the simple solution is to rezone the property. But the question is, who is the lead in that? We have had several property owners in the community over the last couple of years come in and say, we want to rezone our property. most of those situations have been when they've been looking to sell or transact the property or transfer the property in some fashion or other. So we had some apartment buildings that have been apartment buildings for the last 30, 40 years on the west side of town that were zoned single family. They went to sell those properties, realized the zoning issue, came back in and got those properties rezoned to R3, which is consistent with the current use of those properties. We've had some other single family homes. We had some that was just immediately south of Meadowview Shopping Center that came in, I believe, last year, where again they were trying to sell their home, ran into some problems with the prospective lenders, and found that problem out, came in to rezone their property. And so we can do it on an individual basis like that. But since there is so many of them in the community, and particularly clusters like we just looked at, I think the better solution is that the city to kind of be the applicant on this and take the lead. That way there's no cost for the property owner. We can get these things cleaned up. And if we're going through the process and we find out that there is some reason to leave the different zoning in place, we can certainly do that. But we're proposing to kind of do some kind of group rezonings of property. Take a cluster like we just looked at on the map right now. The city would notify everyone in that process, have a public hearing to rezone those properties. If the property owner was comfortable with it and there weren't any objections, we could go ahead and amend the map and get that taken care of. So, but it is easier, much easier for these people to sell their property or to expand and reinvest in their property without having to worry about a conflict between what they want to do with the property and how it's currently zoned. So that's kind of the issue. We are proposing and talking with the mayor and starting with Ward 1. You're number one anyway, right? Two, there are quite a few in town that are quite a few properties in Ward 1 where this problem is, or that this is an issue. So we're proposing to start in this area. Just on this map here, we're showing like almost 60 properties that are miszoned. I don't think I'm going to start with 60 of them. I think I want to start with a smaller batch of maybe like 10 to 15, something like that. But we were proposing to maybe even start doing this in April if that is okay with you guys. If there's other properties that you'd like us to start with, we can certainly do that. But I wanted to just take a small batch for them through and get them rezoned and start that process. We've been waiting to do this for a while. We wanted and identified these properties probably a year ago at this point, but we really didn't want to begin a major rezoning process like this where we were under COVID restrictions and doing everything by Zoom. We wanted the opportunity to meet in person, and the planning board is back to meeting in person now. So we thought starting with a smaller batch of them made sense, and so we were generally thinking about this area to begin that process. So that's kind of an overview of what we were talking about and looking at. If anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Mike, I think that's this is Alderwoman Malone Marshall. I think if we could do it in the group setting, I think it'll probably work out better because a lot of these buildings have been, they've already been like multi-family or single family for years. So pretty much that's what they would be if anything happened to the building. So I don't think we're planning on doing any restructuring of our neighborhood in these areas where we have homes, that we want homes to be put back in those places. That's my opinion.
Exactly. Yep, exactly right. I completely agree.
You for that. Thank you for that explanation and presentation on that.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have any other questions?
Got a question. Mike, so was that my house that you were pointing to that had the building and the house connected to it? That used to be a church?
That red structure,
that was the red
like
structure.
A house. It was south of the church. I didn't actually even look to see who owns it. I was just looking at homes in the neighborhood.
Actually, that house is the oldest James house. That's down by Carwell Chapel Church.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that's the house that Theodis James owned now.
No, I know that red house. I know where that red house was. But the other house, I know the red house with the Weber grill in front. I know that house.
Oh, okay.
But he clicked on the other house that had the building structure attached to it. Because I know we had some zoning stuff that we had done. I was
And
just trying to.
that could be the old church that Jacob them had. You're right. I mean Hill.
Yeah.
Hill.
Yeah,
that
Hill.
could be that.
It was
Yeah.
Hill, Pastor Hill's church.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be it, Joe.
Okay. That's what I was just thinking. It looked like mine. Okay. So that would be all the areas that you're saying is like 60 properties that you guys would go in and do section at a time to rezone.
Yeah, I think we break it into at least a couple pieces. Maybe do half of them at one time, half of them the next month or something.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. And so then the homeowners wouldn't have to, they would just have to the meeting, they wouldn't have to do the public notice or, you know, the certified letters and the newspaper thing, they wouldn't have to do all of that. You guys, the city would take care of the cost.
Exactly, the city would take care of it. It wouldn't cost the resident anything. That's correct.
Okay. Well, since
Mike,
I've already started, then how would that work for me? I would just continue my process that I've already started.
Right. You're actually, your zoning, the C1 category is correct. That's not an issue for your property. The issue there is that it requires a conditional use. So you'd have to do that regardless.
Not the same. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mike, question, and it came up on the screen about Mrs. Burrell property. Is that being moved out of that zone area as business because she had a problem with that? So we want to make sure that the Burrell properties stay in our zoning part as well.
Okay.
In the 300 block of 300 block of Indiana.
I will look that up right now as you guys are talking to see if that was identified or not. I don't think so because that was kind of a commercial use more or less anyway. The structure is commercial on that property, so I don't know why we would change that one unless for some reason it was zoned residential, but I don't think it was. I'm looking now.
Mike, she may be also referencing the new TIF district that's being formed downtown, and her property falls right outside of that new proposed boundary.
Right.
And
yes, I'm aware of that.
Yeah, that is something that we need to talk about at the public hearing next Monday night at 5:15, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So Ms. Burrell, can you be there at that 5:15 public hearing next Monday, April 5th? Here, let me.
I don't think she's on, but we'll make sure that we talk to her about that.
I thought she was on. I thought I saw her. Okay.
I'm sorry, I have one more question before I have to go, if that's okay. I know he was looking up something.
Okay, hold
go
on a
ahead.
second. Ms. Burrell, are you here? I think you are.
Yes,
Yeah.
I am.
I thought.
I will be at the meeting. I will be at the meeting.
Okay, great, because then we'll have everybody's attention and all the other TIF people in that room that night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Prude.
No problem, Ms. Burrell.
Go ahead, Joe. Thank you so much for waiting. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. So this would be the same for vacant lots as well? How would that work with the vacant lots?
If there was a vacant lot that was, say, zoned industrial for some reason and everything around it was single family, then we probably would have flagged that as inconsistent and we probably would go ahead and rezone that lot as well. The vacant lot that you own off of Birch, we weren't proposing to change anything with that because it's you got homes next to it, and you could still use it as parking if you chose to, just with the conditional use. So there wasn't really any reason to change the zoning on that piece.
Okay, I never knew exactly what it was zoned for. Because I thought it was zoned for something different. That's why we had to put the conditional use on it.
Nah, the reason we need a conditional use for parking is because you would be using it for parking in a residential neighborhood, which normally isn't allowed unless you do a conditional use. But there's a provision to do it, and since we're having a hearing anyway, it wasn't going to take any more time, so that's why we did it that way.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, you guys. You have a good evening. I have to go. And
Thank you.
see you later. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
You too. Does anybody have any other questions for Mike tonight? Again, this is just the beginning, so there's going to be more opportunities to ask about specific properties, strategies, seeing the maps. But we did want to present it to you this evening, since this is going to be a project that we're going to be doing, starting with your ward first. All right, we will move forward. Mike, thanks for being here and presenting that information. I know we did have a couple of questions about vacant and abandoned properties that came from the online feed, and I do have some of that information. I just don't have it right in front of me tonight, and so I will get emails out to you with that information if you email us at yourvoice@citykankakee-il.gov. So that is the best way to email us, and we can get you those numbers and that data. I have lots of info in my head. I just don't have that info at the top of my head right now. So thank you for those questions online. Keep them coming. But we're going to launch into some of our community questions. And again, there are surveys available online that you can take that have more questions for you to answer, and you can voice your opinion in those surveys as well. But really, we just want to know from your perspective as Ward 1 residents, so what's going on in your neighborhood, your block, from your perspective, what life is like in Kankakee. So this is meant for me to ask a question, and then you can unmute yourselves and feel free to answer. And I'm going to be taking notes, and so is Rachel. So let's just start off with a fun, kind of easy, breezy question to get us started. But what can you tell me that you like the most about living in the city of Kankakee, specifically Ward 1? What is the reason why that is your neighborhood and you love living there? Feel free, unmute yourselves and just start talking. Anyone? It's an easy question. Why do you like living in the city of Kankakee?
Well, Barb, I can tell you why I like living here. I like because it's a small town, but it has a lot of amenities, in my opinion. I think that we're close to Chicago, but we're not right in Chicago. So we're a smaller town, but we're so close to everything. Like we're in between Champaign, we're close to Chicago, not that far from Springfield. As far as within the city, it has a real hometown feeling for me in the first ward. And I think it's much better even now, like it used to be, because it's even more diverse again. So I like the home type setting of Kankakee.
Thank you. Anybody else to add to that?
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way about the way Alderwoman Marshall said that, the hometown feel. Again, I've been a resident here all my life, so the family environment that I grew up with and still a part of has been good. I mean, we had some drastic changes over the years that hopefully we could get fixed, that we could have that hometown feel again, that, kids could be outside playing, because that's what I grew up on, the parks being busy, because we have, as I said, so many different things around the neighborhood, all these parks, the river, and all of that we could do so many different things with. And again, we close to Chicago if you want to go in them areas like that and do some bigger things and bigger outings with your family and stuff. But I just like the small town feel that it has here. I have friends that have moved here and actually called Kankakee Mayberry because of the way, we be around each other and they feel the love that's shown with each other in this town. So many times I've been wanting to leave, but I can't leave because I just love the feel that we have right here.
Thank you. Anybody else? I want to hear from some other people about what they like the most.
Hi.
Hello.
What I like about being in Kankakee is there's space, there's room. Everything is not congested on top of everything. I have a yard, I like the fact that, I can't look out my window and see straight into my neighbor's house. I like the space that I have here. I also like actually, we're a friendly town. And I like the fact that people are basically friendly. They're easy to talk to, and you don't have to watch your back at every moment. We do have our share of crime. We do have our share of things going on, but you can actually call your neighbor. You can know who your neighbor is. You can, really work out situations without things going crazy. It's not real loud, and it's not congested, and it's not crazy, But I also like the fact that there are improvements. Right now, I see hope in Kankakee. I grew up in Kankakee, and I remember in the 70s, there was a bumper sticker that was out, last one out, turn off the lights. I see hope with Kankakee coming back and rebuilding. So I'm just excited to be here, and I love my ward. It's friendly, it's people and that's what I like about being in Kankakee and in my ward.
Thank you so much for that. Those are great things. A couple of you have said stuff about space and knowing people and friendliness, and I'm interested to know, what is your favorite community event? What is the thing you look forward to? We're coming off of a year of a pandemic where we couldn't gather, and as we're hoping maybe in the late summer or fall we can gather again. So what is that community event that's in your head that you would just love so much to attend?
Well, one of mine was the Merchant Street Fest. I really loved that one. But I also like the weekends when they even had the bands on the hill, you know what I mean, where they did that once a month or whatever, how they did that. And thank God we was able to have a couple of them right after this pandemic, even last year. So them were some of the things. I like music, so going to stuff like that is real good for me. I love live bands, so I really love those events that went on with that. So that's pretty much been one of my favorites. And I like the farmers market. I love the farmers market. It might not be an event, but it's something that I love going down to every year.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say, I used to really enjoy when we had the boat races on the river. Just to mention something that we no longer have that I would like to see come back is when we had the boat races on the river.
That's actually the next question, so you're just ahead of the game there. Anybody else want to share what's their favorite community event that they like to attend?
I just like the neighborhood events in the parks, going to the parks, the different ones and things that are going on. And especially the last few years, our back to school events in the First Ward.
That's a good one. Ms. Burrell, I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you have a favorite event? I think you're muted. I'm so sorry. There you go.
Okay, wonderful. I was going to say, I like the boat races. My family used to come. It was a good holiday because I had family come from Michigan, from Chicago, other areas that was close, that where family was close by Ohio, and we just have a good time. It was that was the ultimate thing to have.
Yeah.
But to show them that my community was totally with it.
Yeah. We hear a lot in these needs assessments about missing boat races, so maybe we can bring them back. That would be great.
It would be nice.
Anybody else have another community event that they missed that they'd like to bring back?
Barbie, I wanted to just say, again, speaking about our closeness, there's also the surrounding towns that we're close enough where we have the different parades, like the parades and moments, and the Bourbon Day Festival. Those are all things that are very close to us, and we can go to those within the day, or we go each day if we want, and it's still close enough for us to be back home without having to spend the night and everything. So I thought that's another great thing about our city, that we are close to things like that.
Yeah.
The state fair,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the nice part about Kankakee. It's almost central between Chicago and Springfield. Well, a little closer to Chicago than Springfield, but it's nice that I like the saying that we're close enough to enjoy all the things that were said earlier about Kankakee, having a home with a nice yard, backyard, front yard, side yard, and yet be close enough to Chicago to enjoy the things that our city is not large enough to sponsor. But I especially like the music, the bands at the railroad, at the
The depot.
they're on the hill.
At the depot.
Yeah, at the depot.
Mhm.
Yes. Thank you.
That's great. So I'm curious, where do you, in this group, get your news from? Where do you find out what's going on in the community, whether it be events or news, business resources? Where's the place you go to get information about local items?
That's kind of the problem. Is knowing what's going on in Kankakee. I don't know what. It's usually like by word of mouth that I get most of my information. I mean, now I'm starting to get acclimated to knowing that the City of Kankakee website page will have different events on it, what's going into Kankakee. So I think that's a great thing. But before that, it was really like up for grabs, as far as where I would be able to go.
Okay.
A lot of mine, to be honest, has been Facebook. I'm like Alderwoman Marshall again, that I am starting to adapt more to the city stuff, websites. But I think I'm happy that the city website also has a Facebook page, because then I get a lot of that information from there as well. I mean, the journal do have some things, but a lot of people don't subscribe to that. And matter of fact, I'm going to stop my subscription, but I'm just saying, really Facebook has been a lot of where I've been getting a lot of stuff from that's going on in our community. So
The library is a nice, I'm on their, they send me out email from the library, and I get a lot of information from there.
That's a good resource. Okay. Anybody else get their information from a different place? This is all very helpful.
Well, too, from the mayor's Facebook. A lot of information comes from her.
Okay.
I look at flyers and things that, you can go in the store sometime and get flyers and see things are going on, but mine is mostly word of mouth.
Good. Okay. All right. How do you interact with the city? what's the last, if you can think of, like, what's the last way you've had some contact with somebody from the city, whether it be Public Works or a code official, or reaching out to the city clerk's office? We're just curious at what level some people in Ward 1 have a relationship with the city, or even know. And it could just be your older people. You just may know them, and that's how you interact.
I talked to my alderwoman.
That's a good one.
I can appreciate the alderman, Reverend Pruitt, and the alderwoman. They are excellent.
That's good.
And I do try to, on Facebook now, I try to have all of the different pages. I've pretty much liked a lot of the pages so that I can, like before I have a meeting, I'll go to those pages and I'll get the information of what upcoming events is so I can share them at our monthly meeting. And I try to make sure that we have our monthly meetings every month so that we can communicate that way.
Thank you. So I'm going to get into some of these other questions that I'm sure we'll have lots of things to talk about. So if you feel like I cut us off, it's for a reason, because I want to get to the next question. But I would love to hear your feedback specifically about Ward 1, about what you think the greatest need is in your ward. And this could be a need in the home, in homes, family life. It could be a need, education, infrastructure. But I'm just curious as to your perspective of what the greatest needs are in your ward. So I'm just going to stop talking and you can start.
Well, I have a problem.
One of the greatest needs I know that we have in our ward is a lot of the homeowners. They need assistance with rehab in their homes. And, they own their homes, but they don't have the resources to do the rehabbing and upkeep of them as far as the big jobs that you need to get done.
Okay.
Well, the problem, everybody seems to think that certain properties with dumpsters, that's a place where they're supposed to dump their mattresses, their old TVs, and any other things that they don't want to leave at their property. Now, I have solicited someone to keep an eye on a property several times that people just come and the garbage man can come Monday. And by Tuesday morning, I've got enough garbage to have a container dumpster come to, or someone to come and move out 4 or 5 mattresses. Mm-hmm. They just seem to dump stuff.
Thank you for that. I'm writing that down.
Thank you.
I think one of the other needs is, what I'm getting a lot of complaints about is fixing the streets and some of the sidewalks. Them are some of the needs that are also in there. But also, I think one of the biggest needs that we need other things for our kids to do. We know we have a lot of parks in the First Ward, which is great. But they be looking for other things because a lot of kids don't want to be outside now, but they want to be inside doing something. So I think we need some type of center as well for them to get to do other things other than just. And I really want them to be outside. Trust me. I mean, I grew up outside, but with some of the things that's happening in the ward, a lot of parents don't want their kids outside right now. So I think we need some type of center because the rec center is not open like it normally is, but, and it costs some time to go there. So we need some place for them as well to be able to enjoy themselves.
Yeah, something like roller skating or an inside area where they can come in and have meetings. Or yes.
That's what Michael just said.
I heard Mary.
I love it.
I'm on your side.
Speak up, Mary.
I said I agree with you that we do need to have a community building in the first ward where we can do different activities when it's cold or something, when the kids, when there's no school, they can have somewhere to go to.
Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
With qualified people and to assist.
Yes.
Writing it all down. Any other needs that you can think of?
We need mentoring programs and just a lot of programs to help to prepare the kids to grow up and to do other things with their lives, to be more successful in their own lives. Something that stimulates their minds.
And I think along with what Connie is saying, because we have a lot of kids that are, I bring this up a lot, that have problems in their home. So I think they just need a safe place to be sometime, other than in the homes with people that are being abusive or other stuff that's going on. So we kind of need, and that goes along with what Connie's saying, the mentoring and all of that, because if they was able to have a safe place to come, we can kind of see some of those things happening and be able to help those kids get out of the environments that they're in. So I think that's needed as well, because that's what's sending a lot of our kids in the wrong direction because of what's going on in their homes, that some of them not being fed or whatever it may be. That's to create some problem in the neighborhood.
They can see some positive images that say, you can do this too.
Yes. That's great. Let's talk for just a second about your opinions and your views of public safety in the city of Kankakee. As a Ward 1 resident, how do you feel about public safety in your community? And all comments and opinions are welcome. We're just taking notes. But again, this helps us as we plan and then also decide how to allocate funds in the city. So it is a complex topic to talk about, but I do want to hear from you as residents how you feel about public safety in the city of Kankakee.
Okay, well, Barbie, I have a concern about public safety as far as how the lights have changed. And I was aware that we were going to the LED lighting, and I have did some traveling, and I see in other cities, they have gone to the LED lighting, and people continuously want to tell us that what we see is not what we see. The light is not as bright, it doesn't cover the area like it used to. So I have a real concern about the street lights, and then I have a concern about the guns that are coming into our neighborhood. And excuse me, because I am actually out here campaigning right now. So just understand that's the only reason why you can't see my face.
Yeah.
But I have a concern about like the guns that are illegally being brought into our city, and just trying to find ways like maybe that buy back a gun or something like that. I'd like to see us have some programs. I've heard us speak about it before, but I think we really need to kind of get it done and start making it a practice of, like, buying back the guns with no questions asked or whatever, to just try to get some of the guns that are on our streets off of our streets.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else, just jump right in.
Well, mine is I am really, really proud of some of the things that are happening with public safety, with, the shot fired, shot spotter, and the things that are coming in. Public safety to me is more in the community. So one of the problems I do have that we have talked about and still trying to get to is that our our officers are not a part of the city of Kankakee. I think the more that we have living in the city of Kankakee would make it a lot better. A lot of people feel more safety when they know that their police officers are living in the city of Kankakee. I think that would keep away some of the crime that's coming in, knowing that the police is close by. So on that level, I think we need to be able to change the fact that we got more officers outside of Kankakee instead of in, and that's probably even with the fire department. So I think those are some of the things that needs to change to make us feel safer in our city. I remember growing up knowing that Pop Thomas and a few other officers was right around the corner from me. That made me feel safe, Joe Baptist and all of those. So I think we need to get back to that part of it for public safety. But, you know, on the other hand, I think that some things have changed to make it better. One of the things that I know that we cannot stop people from pulling guns, but we need to educate them. And that's where I go back to, again, what I said earlier about getting these kids and getting them out of some of the environments that they're in, find out what the home structure is like, that we can help some of these families to do better than what they're doing, because, you know, we never know what's going on in the family's home, and we never know what circumstances they're dealing with. So that will help us with public safety as well. So I think we need to put dollars into investing in what's going on in people's homes as well. Giving them, again, a safe haven where public safety, we can find out what's going on with them to make them more safe.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. Does somebody start talking? I'm sorry. Okay. Just kind of moving into some other questions. I know that there was a mention about streets and sidewalks. Is there anything that's top of mind to you right now in Ward 1 when it comes to streets and sidewalks that you feel needs to get the top priority attention? I would love to hear from you about any of your street sidewalk infrastructure. I already got some great notes about lighting, so thank you for that. But if you have any comments about the streets and sidewalks, let us know.
Barbie, I have quite a few, so I would actually talk to you often.
Yeah.
I'll get with you one-on-one with some of that information that I have on that, okay?
Yeah, you'll have your time coming up here in a couple weeks too, where you and Malone Marshall can share your list, because I know you guys are in the neighborhood frequently.
Yeah.
If any of the residents on tonight have anything that they would like to talk about streets and sidewalks, let me know. I know that we have a Kankakee Walks program where there's encouraged walking throughout each neighborhood in the city. And I think in Ward 1, some of that walking path is not actually sidewalks. So I know that that is something that's on my radar too, to make sure that in our Kankakee walk path that we actually have sidewalks for people to walk on. But I do know that there's a couple streets and areas in the first ward where there aren't sidewalks for that. So that is on our radar.
Well, some of our alleys need to be refreshed.
Okay.
Potholes are deep.
Got it. Cool. All right. Maybe just kind of share with me your thoughts about housing in Ward 1. What do you think are some of the barriers that Ward 1 residents are facing when it comes to housing? I do have the rehab comment, Alderwoman Malone Marshall, so I do know that that is a concern about housing, but I'd love to hear from any of you about your concerns about housing for Ward 1.
Well, I guess my concern again is some houses even the abandoned houses can be rehabbed instead of torn down. And I think we need to look at some of that going on in the ward, being able to offer residents the opportunity to buy some of the lots next to their houses. I know we have, buy them on taxes, but, have some people willing to buy them at maybe even a cheaper rate and give them some type of way of grants to help them to rehab these homes around here instead of just having a lot of vacant lots. I think that would be good for the neighborhood to reinvest and beautifying the neighborhood instead of just a lot of empty lots. With a lot of empty lots, it comes a lot of garbage where, paper is all over the place, and then you don't have people cleaning it up because they don't own the properties and all of that. So, they don't look to clean up what's going on around them. But if we give them ownership to some of this stuff, then maybe they'll be more willing to do some of the things that need to be done.
I agree with that, Alderman Prude, and that's what I basically am saying. And I would like to see us have some, some nice homes built in the first ward. We have a lot of working people in the first ward, and they actually want to stay in the first ward. I know that, we haven't had any real housing developments done in the first ward in years, and actually in the city of Kankakee. So I would like to see some home development on, I don't care if we start at one house a year or something, but it's just something that I think we need to be able to look at. And not always people with perfect credit scores are not going to always be able to, are not able to get the normal financing. So I think we need to help people that are, working toward a better life, and, they might not have the perfect credit score, and that's why they are constantly renting from people.
Yeah, even added to your comment, like Barbie, the house you guys did on Evergreen, which was perfect. I mean, the way you guys came in and fixed that home up, was able to help them get that home where it is. And that one house even beautified that corner right there on Evergreen in the 600 block. I mean, your first home buyers that you do for people, helping them to get money, and things of that nature, I think that need to be expanded. And along with what Alderwoman Marshall saying, that everybody's credit is not where it needs to be in our neighborhood, and then the finance interest rate be so high for them to get a lot of stuff done. So again, I think some way that we can help them in those areas will make wonders in the first ward, because like Alderwoman Marshall was saying, a lot of people don't want to leave, but they want to see it better.
Well, thank you for that. I know that maybe some of you have other comments. Feel free after tonight, if you want to share those with me, email me. It's almost 6:30, which means we will have been together for an hour, but I do have a question that I'd like to get your feedback on. Part of our success in moving Kankakee forward in the future of Kankakee will be about jobs, people finding jobs, being able to create the quality of life for themselves, and people just having opportunities in the area. So I'd just like to hear your thoughts, your perspective, views on maybe what are some barriers or challenges that you think Kankakee residents are facing in trying to find a job in our area.
I'll go real quick with mine. Is those that's coming out of that have records, felons and this and that really want to go to work, but it's hard for them to get a job because of their past records. I think, again, everybody makes mistakes, and some of those people that come out, they become really productive members in society, but they can't get the job that they really need to take care of their family and do the things that they need to do. So I think it's some way we need to work on finding jobs for people like that.
Or, I would suggest too, and it's, in fact, I've already started writing a letter to the governor. Our imprisoned people are there for years, and they learn not all of them are going to be getting a college education or become an attorney. But they could become electricians, they could become plumbers, they could become bricklayers. And we need to have a program even here in the county with the city jail and Kankakee, or at least one of them, have something that could busy these people and start mentally changing their minds about becoming a good citizen by learning how to be productive and to give back rather than taking. I'm sorry, had I known all the questions, perhaps I could have jotted something down and I would have sounded a lot more.
This is good though, this is good info.
And I would like to see more programs as far as like for our school children. We know what jobs are available as far as in our city. And I think Alderman had touched on it before about how our police and our fire don't live in the city. So I think it's got to be some kind of way that we will bring our children up, training them for our city jobs. And whether it starts, you know, just, I know the fire department always does the little kids and they go in and they show them the firehouse and stuff. I think we need an advanced program for our junior high and then something else for our high school so that they will continue to want to be a fireman when they're older and make that their goal, or a policeman or a city worker. You know, all of those are jobs that without them, our lives are not good. So that was my comment.
That's wonderful. The ROTC, something like the ROTC for the young firemen.
Yes.
Well, we do have the junior ROTC back at the high school, and so that's one thing that's good right now in the high schools. But yeah, we need a lot more of that. You're right, Alderwoman Marshall.
But just having career and job training, even for the adults, they're not in school anymore. We do need to, some people just, you know, didn't start off right. They got out of high school and they did absolutely nothing with their life, and now they're 30 and 40. They don't know how to do anything. You know, they have no real skills. If we had, you know, something available for them, that would be a great thing. That'll help them to get good jobs.
Any other comments about jobs? Well, thank you all so much for being with us tonight. It is 6:30. You've given us an hour of your time. We've talked about so many things tonight, starting with zoning. We've talked about housing and jobs and our social needs and our community events, how we get news, and all of your feedback is going to help us as we move forward in deciding again how we spend our funds in the city of Kankakee. The ECDA department is doing these kind of meetings in every ward. We'll be doing them every month in perpetuity because our needs are always changing and evolving, so we need to stay in touch. And with that being said, too, stay in touch with us. You can give us a phone call anytime at 815-933-0506, or you can email us at yourvoice@citykankakee-il.gov. If you have any questions or concerns, we'll do our best to address those and help you. And again, I just want to remind you, these questions tonight were just a small portion of our 4 big surveys that are out. If you were to sit down and do all 4 surveys at one time, it's about 20 minutes. So each survey should take you about 5, no more than 6 minutes to do them. But we need your opinions. We need your perspective, your points of view. I only live in one part of the town, and so knowing from your perspective what it's like to live in your block and your neighborhood is very helpful in understanding how we can impact housing, transportation, economic development, community development, all of those things. So your voice is really important to us, and it helps us, the ECDA and the rest of the city. You will see the Ward 1 Community Needs Notes being presented to City Council in the next few weeks. We try to share these with everybody so that they can see your comments and your feedback. It won't be your name, but it will just be bullet points of what we heard tonight. And feel free to stay in touch with us, and we want to help in any way we can. So, thank you so much tonight.
Barbie, one last thing. Could you bring up about the advisory board? We were still looking for one member in the first ward, right?
Yes, we need a member. Thank you. Gosh, you want a job? You can come work. We have a citizens advisory board that we meet with monthly with the ECDA team that helps us in understanding what's going on in the community, and then also we report back to our efforts, so you'll know about our programs and the work that we're doing every month throughout the city. And they also help us with projects across the city. So there are 5 committees. Each committee has a project that they're working on in the city. So if you'd like to participate with us on the Citizens Advisory Board and represent the First Ward, please just give us a call back. The information for ECDA is in the chat box below, and you can also find out information about the Citizens Advisory Board on the city website. So you can also visit that. There is some stuff on social media on our Facebook page as well, if that is easiest for you, but we do need a Ward 1 representative to join us on the Citizens Advisory Board. We try to have 2, and we only have 1, so we need 1 more. Thanks, Alderman Prude, I appreciate that.
Thank you, Barbie.
Yeah. Okay, well, you guys go and enjoy the rest of your evening with family, friends, whatever you have next on your agenda, but thank you for voicing in on some of these things and helping us.
Okay, and I would just like to say our next monthly meeting is April the 28th. 5:30, we'll be meeting on Zoom. And Barbie, I would just like to ask if you could come back maybe in a few months and do another needs assessment. I don't know if that would be possible so that more people can tune in.
Yeah.
Okay, I know you have to do all of the wards, and I was just wondering if we could do a round 2 now that people kind of have an idea of what this needs assessment is.
Yeah.
And I think more people would participate.
Yeah, it's really more of a round table, but until we can get together again around table,
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can do it this way.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barbie.
Thank
Thanks, everybody.
Bye,
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.